Welcome to Inner Power Insights. Hello, beautiful souls. This week, we're diving deep into the enchanting world of crystals and healing with a truly special guest, Lindsay from the Dream Den. Lindsay is a beacon of love and light in the crystal community. With a rich heritage spanning 4 generations of expert mineral and gem dealers, she is passionate about sourcing the highest quality, high vibe crystals that truly work for you. The Dream Den is a sanctuary born out of true love for crystals and the healing journey. Lindsay's mission is to create a space where you can experience the magic of crystals and find a supportive, loving community to fully express and discover yourself. Join us as we explore the magic of crystals, the power of healing, and the journey of self-discovery with Lindsay. Whether you're a crystal enthusiast or a curious soul, this episode promises to inspire and enlighten. So, grab your favorite crystal, get comfy, and let's embark on this magical journey together.
Lindsay, welcome to Inner Power Insight. I am so excited that you're here. You're a crystal practitioner and co-founder of the Dream Den.
I am, yes. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. I cannot wait to dive in and see what we come to today. Yeah.
I'm so excited. So like I talked to you about it before, we have a lot of listeners that wanted to know about crystal. So I'm so glad that people are getting into that type of stuff because our podcast is all about, being healthy, spirituality, personal growth. So we had people like tarot readers and all psychic mediums and astrologists and all that. But crystal was one of the things that we were not having. And I said, I have to have her over here so we can talk about crystal because it's so fascinating.
I know. It really is. It's such a world unto itself. And I feel like once you start, and we've noticed this with so many of our clients, including ourselves, you get so hooked because once you start to feel the subtle shifts in the energy around you and you start to connect with not only the beauty of them, but the fact that they're literally coming from Mother Earth, it's such an incredible thing. And there's no structure on the planet atomically that is like a crystal. It's so orderly, it's so perfect. And the way that it allows energy to move through it is so different. So I find that people who are feeling stressed or depressed or struggling in their life or looking to elevate their vibration are able to do so with crystals because of that atomic structure. And we're going kind of into the science a little bit. Our bodies, our human bodies are constantly changing. Our vibration, our frequency, we're so mutable based on what's going on around us. However, a crystal is literally the most stable structure in all of nature. It does not change its frequency or vibration for anybody. So instead of the crystal acclimating and changing its vibration to meet you at that lower level, wherever you're at, it doesn't. You change and you start to mold your vibration and lift your vibration to meet the crystal. So I found people experiencing this on subtle levels at big shifts and just being like, okay, I'm in, like, this has changed my life. And that's why we're doing this. Like, we're noticing these big changes in people's lives from just changing the subtle frequencies in their space through their crystals.
It's amazing.
It's wild, right?
I gotta tell you, I love crystal because of its beauty. It's just like I don't know much about it, and that's why we have you here to talk about it. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, I want this, I want that. I'm one of those people that, people collect cars and this, whatever. Mine would be crystal. Mine absolutely would be crystal because besides all of the stuff that it has in it that heals and has its purpose, but it's so pretty. The colors and the structure and everything is so pretty. I was watching your Instagram and you were showing that stuff. I'm like, I want all of it.
I know. It's like you're in a candy shop, right? You're like, I have clients that used to only buy designer purses and now they buy crystals. They're like, forget that.
I believe it.
I want the crystals. Like, I'm way more interested in the crystals. And that's the amazing thing about them. They're so beautiful and so fun to collect that it's such an easy entry point for anyone. Even if you're not into the woo-woo or you don't know about tarot or you're kind of interested in spirituality, but you're not quite there yet. It kind of is like that bridge that anyone could be like, oh, well, I'm putting home decor in my home. Like, I'm designing, and then you start to realize, whoa, there's way more to this. This is way different than just, interior design. This is this is changing my state. So it's a really cool and like gateway into your spirituality without even realizing it or intending it, or you don't have to make as much of a commitment like, oh, I'm going to a tarot card reader and I'm nervous to die. Like, it's a slower shift, and then you realize, whoa, I want to open up to this world. So I've had a lot of people who like doctors, like very logical careers, that are like, okay, spirituality really isn't for me, but I like the look of these crystals, so I'm going to add some into my space. And then they're like, huh, I feel different, tell me more about this spiritual thing. And then it just builds and they open
I,
to the world.
I love it. I love it. So for the listeners that are listening, and they like myself, they seen crystal is beautiful and everything. What is a crystal?
A crystal is basically a substance that forms under extremely intense pressures and heat under the earth. And because of that extremity, and because it has millennia, like hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of years to form, it creates such a crazy atomic structure that becomes so orderly that it's literally known as one of the most orderly and tight structures in nature. And I don't know if you're like into fractals or like fractal geometry or
Mhm.
the geometry of nature, but it kind of takes on that sort of that shape. So you'll notice that there's just something different, like your table, even rocks, like your skin,
Mhm.
nothing takes on this stable structure quite like a crystal. So that's why they're used in so many of our electronics or like different medical technology, our computers, like all different things because of the way that they can conduct energy. And so they're basically like beacons of energy that you can
Energy.
use in your space that I mean, besides you can set your intentions of them and do a lot with, but you don't need to do
Right.
too much for them to really start working on your space because of the massive amounts of energy that they hold because of how they were created and because of their stable frequency, if that
And from
helps.
this, and from the science perspective, I think I believe I read somewhere saying that it is actually there's particle in it that um, is there and is trapped in there, and that's why it has to do a lot with the energy versus
Mm,
other rocks and stuff like atom and stuff that are like actually condensed in it, that
completely.
when they
Yes.
open it, yeah. So a lot
Exactly, and
of
it's a repeating structure, like, you'll know like, it's not random. It's
correct.
completely assembled itself into these repeating orderly structures that, yes, if you slice it or you look at that deep atomic level, it's very different from any other material.
Geologists are like they're studying it, and when they're opening it, like you said, it opens up, but everything
Mhm.
is stays within itself. It doesn't separate itself. So that's why
No,
every piece of it is so important and it matters so much. So that's the science perspective of the crystal that has so
absolutely.
much benefit besides its beauty.
Mhm.
But what inspire you the love for crystal and do what you do? Because I know you're a fourth
Yeah.
generation in
Oh, yeah.
crystal.
It's such a good question. So, like, I have two sides of my family. I come from a Jewish family, and they're very, I'm sure you know, like, just in these cultures, sometimes it's very much focused on like you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're
Yes.
doing something highly professional, and you're not into the spirit, you're not into the woo-woo stuff. Like, just get your degree and be a doctor. And fortunately for me, on one side of my family, there was this huge history. My grandmother's father and mother, they had escaped the Holocaust, and he had come, and he was very famous back in Hungary for creating jewelry, working with stones and making beautiful pieces. And so they escaped and came to Toronto. So he opened up a little store where he became famous for making these gorgeous jewelry pieces and working with stones. And my grandma grew up there learning about the art of it. So she became fascinated by the world of crystals and jewelry and stones, and learned how to make jewelry herself. And eventually, and they came from nothing. Like, she opened up a store of her own, and I grew up in that store, and my uncle now has taken it over, and it's more fine jewelry now and fine stones, but I grew up being exposed to these crystals. And when I was young, I didn't think much of it. I was just kind of like a curious young kid who loved to collect rocks. And I feel like that's so many of my clients are like, when I was a kid, I was always picking up rocks from the beach or just on the floor, and I was just fascinated, and I didn't know why, but I loved them. And I feel like so many of us came to it from that just that fascination, like, what is this pretty little jewel here? Like, I want to know more. And so I totally put that into the back of my mind throughout most of my life. Like, I would say I always struggled to fit myself into society. I didn't know where I belonged at all. I didn't feel like I really related to the doctor, lawyer kind of like framework that was set for me. And I came from a divorced family, and there was a
Mhm.
lot of tension. Like there was a lot of difficulty. I had a lot of issues growing up. We grew up pretty poor. Things were really rough, and I felt quite astray. And it took me a really long time to even figure out what I wanted to do in this life. And I struggled with really serious depression, anxiety, obesity, like really serious things that were affecting my mental health, and that haunted me for many, many, many years. And it took me a really long time to kind of feel like a person, I would say. Like I never really felt like I belonged in this world. I was so sensitive, um, so empathetic to other people that it crippled me. And it to the point that even when I went to university, I just dropped out. It was too much for me to handle. So I knew I had all of this potential, but I had no way to deal with all of the emotion and the pain and the suffering that was inside of myself, especially since I didn't know it at the time, but I was taking it on from other people and holding it and storing it. So I had eventually made a little career for myself as an artist actor. I was doing acting, which was a really great form of expression for me. Like that really helped me to release some of the difficult emotions and feelings that were inside me. And in the acting world, it's interesting because I always say like acting is pretty much the opposite of acting, because I feel like in that space, it's the only space where you're actually allowed to be real, where your emotions, your feelings, like the things you really think and want to say emotionally are okay. Like if you go and cry in public, or if you're showing intense emotion in public or to your friends, they're like, tone that down. Like get like put on the smiley face. I don't want to see that. Whereas if you're showing that in the acting world, it's like, okay, that's a good actress right there. Like she's
Right.
compelling. Like she's got
Yeah.
it. So in that space, I felt like, whoa, I have an outlet here for all of these things that were stored inside of me. And I found a healthy way to get it out. I was also painting, but as you can imagine, from my family, they're like, "What are you doing with your life, Lindsay? This is not the path." And so I remember it was like I was really lost at the time. I was doing like a sampling job where I would be kind of like on the street side sampling kombucha or going to little events, and that was my gig. And then I do a little bit of acting on the side, but I had no plan for my life. Like I was adrift, and I was still kind of coming back from a lot of the difficult emotions I'd experienced as a child, like with all the I won't get into it deeply, but like it was rough. It was a rough going when I was young. And so um COVID hit. And interestingly, I had right around the time, right before it hit, I was on a run, and that's kind of my way to decompress. And I had seen this vision out of nowhere. Like it was as if, and I don't get these often, but it was as if I was in a different time space, and I saw macrame and crystals all around my space. And I didn't have crystals. Like my grandma knew, but I
Right.
wasn't doing any of this really. And I saw all this macrame and crystals around me, and I said, "What the heck am I seeing?" And I started to see like the macrame being weaved into these kind of like wall hangings. And it lasted for a few minutes, but it was so potent that I remember like I called my boyfriend at the time. I didn't know how to sew even, or like I didn't know anything, how to knit, nothing. And I said, "We're gonna go to the store and we're gonna buy some macrame, and I'm gonna start making wall hangings. And we're going to call our business the Dream Den, and I'm going to make dream catchers, and we're going to put crystals in them." And he's like, "What are you talking about? Where is this coming from?" And I was like, "I know it's crazy, but we're going to do this." So I decided to do my first I learned it. I did the YouTube. I started making these wall hangings, these dream catchers. And my first sale was to the people that I was working for. It was GT's. It was a kombucha brand. I'm sure some people have heard of it. They have great kombucha. And it was just, I've always been kind of spiritual. And I was like, okay, I'll work for a kombucha brand. So they were like, "Yeah, we do events all the time for sure. We'll buy some dream catchers from you." So they bought two, and they were my first client. And then literally like before the dream catchers finished, COVID hit, and the job was deceased. Like they literally like shut down Canadian operations because the sampling culture was done. Like there's no way you're sampling anything anywhere anymore because COVID, like you can't. So I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm out of a job. Um, I made these dream catchers, but there's no way to show them anymore. What do I do?" And so I had worked for someone as a personal assistant doing their Instagram in the past, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to go on Instagram. I'm going to just like get a bank of photos. I'm going to make a bunch of product, get a bank of them going, and I'm going to just start selling these. So I created a bunch of pieces because I was an artist at the time. I was loving to create. And I was going to my grandma and I'm like, I need some, because she was supplying me with the crystal beads.
Mm,
And eventually she's like, Lindsay, I don't have any more that I can give you. You have to find sources for this. I'm going to give you some sources and you're going to do this now. You're going to put your crystals in. And for me, the reason I wanted to add crystals is because, well, first of all, I was really like, for me, just putting a pretty piece in the space wasn't enough. I wanted to help people because I had been through so much as a child. And because I was such an empathic person, people always came to me with their problems. I always felt like I was a person that could understand anyone in any situation. I had a lot of empathy and I'm a very non-judgmental person. Like there's nothing that someone can say to me where I'm like, oh, well, you're freaking weird. Like get away from me. My brain doesn't work like that. I really try to understand, why is this person feeling like this? What are they going through? What's happening in their world? And so I didn't just want to create something that was just for show. I wanted to create something that helped people. And so I thought to myself, I love the notion of dream catchers. I loved them growing up. And I wanted this kind of idea where people who have difficulty sleeping or anything like that maybe could have certain crystals in their space through the wall hanging that could help them unconsciously or subconsciously deal with their issues while they're sleeping. And so, what I would do, and the way that I would sell them, is I would individually message people that I thought were in the spiritual world or would be interested in something like this. I would ask them what was going on in their life and I would pitch them and I would say, hey, like, these are a few crystals I think would be really helpful for you. And I think you would love this piece. And I'd love to weave it together for you so that you could put it, in your bedroom and work through some of these issues. And this is why I've chosen these crystals. So it was super personalized. And it turned out that people loved it. Like they were like, I couldn't make enough. My husband, who was doing his PhD in neuroscience at the time, it was so big that like he was literally like at lab meetings, like what's it called, remotely, but like weaving dream catchers in lab meetings with these crystals. Like we were like, it was crazy. And so that was how this started. And I don't even know, like I couldn't have planned this if you asked me if I was going to be doing that, like not in a million years. But I was finding myself so fulfilled by connecting with people, really learning about what they were going through and being able to offer a solution, not just through art, but through crystals. And at that time, I noticed crystals started booming. Like people were losing their jobs, they were fearful. The medical system was failing them. All the things that used to make sense were starting to crumble and fall apart, and they were open. People were more open to spirituality, to different modes of doing things. The minds were opening. So I just noticed crystals started becoming more popular. And at the same time, both Kyle and my neck were starting to like go, like we were like literally in so much pain every day, like weaving these things like 5 a day. We're like, this is not sustainable. And I was talking to my grandma and I was talking to my family, and it just occurred to me, like, why don't I just switch to crystals? Like, I'm so passionate about this. And at the same time, Kyle and I were adding all of the crystals to our collection and experiencing like tons of amazing benefits. Like we were feeling the best we've ever felt. We were so creative. A lot of like my trauma was healing. And I had done it a little bit before I met him, especially when it was like I actually used crystals to manifest him, I believe. But we were together feeling the effects of these crystals in our space and all the more passionate because of that. So we were healing at the same time that we were helping
yours.
others heal with these pieces. And so eventually it kind of transitioned to like, let's sell crystals. Like, let's do this. It's in my family. I have a lot of connections through my family, a lot of support on that side. And it just kind of happened and it worked. Like the market was ready for it. And I think because I had had the acting training too, I wasn't afraid to be in front of the camera. I wasn't afraid to talk to people, and it just grew very organically. Like it was never like a normal business where you set up a website and you do marketing with ads and you have people buy. It was like me individually messaging people that I thought would resonate, that like all the way through, even past the dream catchers, because I was so used to that. I would just message people, ask them about their experiences with crystals, ask them about what's going on in their life, and you'd be surprised at how many people were willing to share and willing to open themselves to it. So I built a really um like committed, like supportive, wonderful community of people because I was so willing to give of myself and my time and really get to know people on a deep level. and then talk about the crystals. So for me, like I was kind of fulfilling that part of me that needed to help people and learn about them. And also like the beauty, the artistic part of me was like, oh my gosh, there's so much beauty around me, crystals, spirituality, all these things. So it all just came together in a beautiful way. And it started from a vision that wasn't even necessarily about where we are now. It just happened and I followed it. And Kyle, being the best husband in the world, was just like, all right, this is what we're doing. Like, let's do it. So he just trusted me and he always does. And I feel like that has been a huge part of it too. Like my partner trusts my intuitive musings and we just push it forward. Um, so that's kind of like how I got here. And we lived in like literally like a 1 bedroom apartment. We slept in a twin bed together for years. And like we're just building this together, like in a room. We had a room. We had no money. We
Yeah.
were broke. We used like the government money to start the business. Like we just built it because we believed in it and it flourished. So talk about like unconventional careers. Like my family at first, they thought it was a joke. They're like, okay, like you're making these like wall hangings. What's next? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you actually gonna do? And then they just saw it grow and grow and grow. And it's just taken on a whole life. Like we have a team of, 16 people now. We have an amazing following. We have like all of this content and all of this knowledge and just so much going on in our lives that came from this one little, vision that I had to do something different. So I don't know. That's where that's
Oh,
how it
oh
started.
my God. No, 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 no. First of all, thank you for sharing all of that because,
Absolutely.
like you said, unconventional career. And here we have a
Yeah.
lot of young adults right now that going through a lot of anxiety for
Hmm.
their career, right?
Yeah, of
Because
course.
people expectation like, okay, like every mom and dad and every family says like, okay, like now what are you doing? Like, are you finished college? Like,
Hmm.
what are you doing? The things like that. So we have a lot of listeners that are in that situation, but your
Hmm.
story, I'm sure, going to resonate because number one, the trauma and things that you had been through,
Mm.
I mean, now you look back because when we're in it, it's just so hard. It's like, why
Oh,
me? Why am I
it's
going
so
through all
hard.
of this? And I can't imagine you being that young, going through all of that and feeling all of that and not having anybody to talk to. And the scapegoat is like, okay, I'm gonna be an actress, and that moment, I'm gonna show my vulnerability because you know what? Nobody else knows. Nobody
No
knows
one
that
knows.
I
Yeah,
can make any mistake, I can say anything, and it can be
totally.
taken as an actress. But in a way, you spoke for yourself. You actually, like you said, that was your true self. That way you
Truly, that
showed.
was the first time I ever felt like I was myself because, and I didn't share this, but as a kid, because I was obese, and I mean obese, I was obese through a lot of like my like younger years in school. I was bullied terribly. Like it was awful. I had no friends. I was bullied severely for my weight. And we were always like just a little like my mom was going through a lot of struggles at the time, so she didn't have time to do things like brushing our hair or brushing our teeth. So my sister and I came to school a little bit dirty, and so it was really rough. So I kept a lot of stuff in, and it was only until I found that outlet where I could truly express what was going on within me. Yeah. So and when you're going through that place of trauma and anxiety, like it feels unending. Like I literally thought that was my life and I was never going to change. I was
Yeah,
convinced. I was truly
yeah,
convinced. And that's why when I have people coming to me in the darkest of places, like I never give up on them and I stay with them and I assure them like this is going to end. There is a light at the end of this tunnel. Let me help you in the ways that I know how. And I've seen so many people transform. I have people come and visit us who have like, lost the weight that was like making them diabetic and making them really sick, that have completely changed their career, that have completely changed how they feel inside, and it's reflected outside. And it's just really, really beautiful to see people, leaving certain relationships that were not serving them, that were toxic, and finding their soulmates, finding the home of their dreams, having the child, like doing these things that have changed their lives. And the more I see of that, the more passionate I became about what we were doing here, because we wanted to help people change their lives. Like that's what my husband tries to do. Like he's basically he's doing neuroscience and also has
yeah.
studied dream analysis because he wants to help people um to raise their consciousness, to work through these issues as well. Like that's the core of what we do. And then crystals are like the bonus, like the how, the help.
To have,
Yeah.
but no, the important part of this is like I said, you went through all of that. At the moment, you felt like okay, oh my God, this is me, this is how it's going to be. But behind the scene, the universe was preparing you for
Oh
this
yeah.
moment.
Oh
And the
yeah.
fact that you were, like you said, that you're running and this vision of business come to you so clearly is
Yeah.
it's not normal. It's not normal. In
I know.
order for somebody to open a business, you must have, like, you have to have a strategy. You have to go through it. You have
Oh
to have
yeah.
blueprint. You have to, like you said, you have to talk to people. You have to learn, especially now social media. And then
Mm,
on top of that, you are getting that vision, but COVID hit and everything quiet down. And
it
you're
was
like, oh
crazy.
shit, like this is
I was
it.
out of a job. I was
Yeah.
broke. I was literally taking government money. Like,
I think we have to agree on this, that the universe was saying, listen, I'm working on this. Be patient.
yes.
I'm working on this. And I
Yes.
always tell people the way universe works, we're not even clever enough to know there's little things that goes on, and we think that, oh, we figure everything out, but not necessarily. Universe wants the best for you. And sometime you go backward, sometime
Yeah.
you go down before you come back
Mhm.
up, and you are example of that. On top
Yeah.
of you being bullied and going through that trauma, then after that it's like your family's like, all right, what are you doing, like, are you, come on, get up, get your life together.
Yeah.
Going through that, and then finding this thing that you weren't really trained for, and then the universe
No.
says, no, this is what I want you to do, this is what you have to do. And all
Exactly.
that, you look back, it was so orchestrated so beautifully.
Totally. And it's what's interesting about it, and what I would say for anyone who's in a job right now that they loathe, there were so many jobs that I did along the way that were so difficult for my soul and where I really wasn't happy. But looking back now, I'm so grateful for the time I spent there, because in every single one, it literally gave me the exact skills I needed to do what I'm doing now.
Do what you're
And
doing
I would
now.
not have changed it for the world. Like, I at one point, especially when I was doing, for instance, when I was doing the social media for this woman who owned this hair extension brand, she was one of those women that did not like other women. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Not the
yeah,
ones
yeah.
that raise each other up. And for me, I was really naive going into that, because I feel the opposite. Like, if I see other women, I'm like, let's lift each other up. She would tear women down. And she was very jealous and very angry. And when I would succeed at something, when I would do something well, while it would help the business, it would backfire on me, because she didn't want anyone showing her up. So she would consistently do things to put me down and make me feel like just a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All, every
Yeah.
day. And I would just kind of take it, because at the time, that's all I believed I deserved. But at the same time, because I was doing that job, I learned so many skills about social media that were crucial for me to build our account to where it is right now, like, because I
Yeah.
was building her Instagram. So if I had been like, this doesn't resonate with my soul, like, I need to, like, if I had been at the place where I'd had enough self-confidence to walk away from something like that, then I wouldn't have gotten that experience. And I think, like, it's okay to honor yourself where you are. Like, you don't have to beat yourself up just because you're in a terrible situation or whatever it is. Like, this might be meant for you for right now, and you'll know when to get out. Like, the universe will take you out when it's time, and you have to trust that you will heal from it. And there's a reason things are happening as they're happening. And you don't need to
Yeah.
be at like that end result right now. Like, maybe
Yeah.
someone's in a job that they're just like, I hate this. It's a slog every day, but you're growing and learning something you don't even know that you're learning. That's so valuable to you that you're going to use later in something that you don't even like understand is being weaved for you by the universe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, my like I said, my listeners are young, and I'm like older, and I'm like from old, very old fashioned. And I sometimes see them, and I sometimes when I coach young adults, and I'm like, if I could take you and shake you and say that you're going to be okay, and they're 30
Yes.
years old, they're panicking. Oh my God, where's my life? I'm like, you just started it. You just
Oh my
started it,
gosh,
and
yes.
everything that you have done and been through prepare you for this moment
Exactly.
moving forward. So now
Exactly.
let's switch gear on how are you using crystal for healing?
For healing. So, first of all, for anyone that's like intimidated by doing rituals or who's super busy, like, I have a lot of people who are busy moms, who are career women, who are even men who are busy, and they don't have a lot of time to do their meditations with crystals or do specific rituals. Just by having crystals in your space, you're changing the vibration of your space, and you will subtly change your own frequency because of what's around you. Like, think of the art of feng shui. Think of just like interior design. Like, how influenced are we by our space? When you're in a really, really messy room, when there's someone that just had a huge argument in a room, do you not feel it? Like, does it not affect you? it's the same way that works in the opposite way. So if you have beautiful crystals in your space, if your space is beautiful, if you're being intentional about what you put in your space, won't you feel it? Especially then taking it a step further and placing objects that actually have a measurable vibration that elevates yours in your space. So it just, I would say to anyone that like is feeling like they don't know how to do rituals or don't know how to do the thing, like the first step is like just be intentional about how you're curating your space, what you're putting into your space. Are you keeping it tidy for your mind? Are you creating a sacred sanctuary for yourself? Because this is where you're spending a lot of your time, or this is where you come back to after a long day at a difficult job. How are you curating your space? And I think crystals give us a really amazing way of doing that because they beautify your space and then they raise the frequency of your space. So this is one way that like even if I don't have time, because I'm a busy person, like we're
Right.
running a bit, like we have a lot of things to do in a given day. Sometimes we work 12 to 14-hour days in a row. And sometimes I don't even have the time to ground myself with a meditation in the morning. But whereas I used to be hard on myself for things like not doing the things I said I should do, now it's kind of like, well, I know that the frequency in my space is very high. And I know that at any moment I can acknowledge that. I can give gratitude for the crystals. I can think about their energy in my space. And I can literally just be mindful of that and it will change my state. So that's like the first way that I work with crystals without needing to do anything. It's
Right.
very low maintenance. Um, and then there's of course like the crystal meditations where
Right.
you can just spend a few minutes if you have the time just acclimating to the crystal's energy. So I mean, each crystal, as I'm sure that you've learned a little bit about, has different healing properties.
Mhm.
They're known for different things, and they can excite different parts of you or calm different parts of you. And
Mhm.
so it's good to kind of get to know your crystals as you start to collect and this one's for this one's for this, and kind of feel it out yourself. Like sometimes you don't even need to know the exact definition, but you can just feel, oh, I'm gravitating towards this. And you can just pull it off the shelf, take a few of them, even sit with them, and just allow yourself to be influenced by the vibration. Breathe with it, allow whatever comes up to come up. And then you can take it a step further and actually set your intentions with your crystals. Crystals work best, I would say like 100% they work best when you feed them your intention. They hold and amplify intentions. That's how they work. So if you
Mm.
have something that you want to manifest, and I'm really big on manifestation, I
Me
truly
too.
believe, yeah, like it is completely within your power to create the life of your dreams, and the universe will
Mhm.
conspire to help you if you just commit to that. And crystals are there to like just skyrocket your journey. So when you have a crystal and you kind of know a little bit about what it does, you want to kind of program it with an intention that correlates with its properties. So let's say like in the most basic way, like amethyst is wonderful for peace and if you're going through a lot of stress. Like so let's say at the end of the day, you've had a very stressful day, you're having trouble sleeping. You can literally just say, amethyst, bring me to peace, relieve the stress from my mind, take it from me now. Something just simple. You can come up with it on your own. You can use ChatGPT, be like, give me a little mantra of de-stressing that I can program into my amethyst. Like I'm telling you, that thing will work.
Yeah.
Just sit with it and you imagine that feeling of that intention going into the crystal, like as if it's flowing, like an energy flow, like a stream of energy going into that crystal. You don't even need to hold it. It can be in front of you, especially if you have a bigger one. And that will lock in that intention and it will start to vibrate with that frequency at a much higher amplitude so that you can feel its energy and benefit from the intention you've set. Crystals love to co-create with you. They want your intention. And it's important also to cleanse your crystals because you've set this intention, or maybe that crystal has absorbed some yuckier things that you want to rid it of. You always want to make sure to do a little cleanse. Even that cleansing ceremony right there can relieve any stuck energy in your space, your mental space, just that cleanse. Like that's, I mean, Kyle started to believe in crystals the day that we did a massive cleanse of our crystals because the energy was so potent for him and so wild. He was like, he had never felt anything like it. We water cleansed them all. We did smoke for the ones that can't go in water. And he was like, okay, Linz, this is real. Like these have an energy. So just cleansing your crystals can be huge. Another way to work with them is certain like I have a certain like ritual that I teach. It's a little bit more advanced, but it's called the Lemurian wave. And I have a whole workshop that I've taught about it, which kind of comes into play with this Lemurian quartz, which is a very, very like high vibrational crystal that is known for profound manifestation and healing.
Okay.
I would say, to me, it's probably one of my favorite crystals to use because of its power to help you manifest at light speed. Like, I don't know any crystal that will help you get to your desired dreams faster than Lemurian quartz. And so there's a very like easy manifestation technique that I teach, and I think it's like right on my Instagram wall, like right at the top, where you literally, and I'll show you. I have Lemurian right here.
I
This is
was
a
gonna say,
Lemurian, for
I'm
instance.
trying to write it down over here.
This is a
Lemurian
Lemurian
cord.
quartz. So you'll notice on it, there's these barcodes, these striations, and that's how you would define and identify Lemurian quartz. And oftentimes, like, Lemurians are polished into different shapes and sizes for different uses so that you can experience that energy differently. Like, there's many sacred geometric shapes that get channeled when you polish them in certain ways. And so you have to be aware of who you're sourcing from and where you're sourcing from, because you can only find them in certain regions of the world. But there's a big mythology around them that they go back to the time of Lemuria, ancient Lemuria, and
Right.
that they have been seeded into the ground, and coated with ancient knowledge from that civilization. And this civilization was known for its light speed manifestation, for its ability to like heal and raise the vibration of the planet. Like, there's wisdom in here. You can channel that wisdom and tap into it. So they have a vibration unlike any other quartz. So also, if you're talking about distinguishing, as you get more sensitive, you will be able to hold a quartz and a Lemurian quartz and feel the difference. There's a strong frequency in these. Like, if you don't believe in crystals, you will still feel Lemurian quartz. So what I do is they work kind of like, they're social crystals, I would say. And when you have more than one in your space, they know each other in the space. They're like light beings, like they're active. So if you put them in a wave formation, like an S, and you put your intention in, it starts to move that intention and activate each one, just like mounting, 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 until you get a huge vibration at the end that allows you to bring your manifestations into play. And I'm telling you, I cannot even count the amount of people that have come to me with their success stories, like literally days after creating their waves, being like, oh my God, it manifested right away. Oh my God, like I literally just met my soulmate. Oh my God, I just manifested the car that I needed. I just won these lottery tickets. Like, things like as mundane as you want or as big as you want. It's my number one like manifestation technique that I love. And once you make it, you just need to kind of like use your Lemurian one and charge it like once or twice a day.
Around.
Yeah, it's a very chill thing. Like, you don't have to do too much to make it go, but it's powerful. So this is something that I teach that I love. It's like, I'm all about the Lemurian wave. I'm all about having Lemurian pieces in your home to create that space of manifestation and protection and all the good things. And then there's just so many things that you can do, like just walking out the door with a few crystals, literally just going over to the shelf and whispering an intention into your crystals, doing grid work with your crystals. And this is a little bit more advanced, but for anyone just coming to crystals, I would say just my number one like rule of thumb is infuse them with intention. Like, use them, tell them what you want, speak to them. It can be in your mind, it can be out loud. Feel your energy merging with theirs. That's the way you're going to get the most out of your crystals. I hope that helps.
That is a lot of
It's a
information
lot
and
of it. I
is
know. It's a
so
lot.
and it's so beautiful. As I'm listening to you, first of all, I'm gonna get that. So because like you said, every one of them is different. And I feel like that's the king of all the crystals. And a lot
Absolutely.
of people, obviously, manifestation, I believe in, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, if we intentionally, manifest, we always manifest. But as we grow older, we intentionally manifesting, like you said,
Absolutely.
finding your soulmate, or getting a good job, or
Yeah.
becoming healthy, or
Yeah.
getting rid of that
Totally.
anxiety and stuff like that. So I'm if you see me, I'm
Write
writing
that
notes.
one down. If I can
Yeah.
recommend anything to anyone, get yourself some
Oh
Lemurian
no,
quartz.
we're
It's a
definitely
must.
gonna put that on the show notes. Yes, yes, definitely we're gonna put that in there. So I feel like that's the king of it, that they put it in there for people just to, like you said, like, having anxiety and everything. And I find it
Mhm.
so beautiful what you said, that about cleansing them, like to clean them and cleanse them.
Yes.
It's because every age we go through different emotions. We grow,
Absolutely.
our desire changes, we change. So the fact that having them is like a little journal, and you talk to them, and you work for you,
Yes.
and then after that you're like, okay, that chapter is done, now we're going to this one.
A new phase. It's a new phase. Exactly. So that's what's they can be your companions through whatever you're going through. Like, let's say you're going through a massive breakup and that
Right.
crystal is going to support you. But afterwards, you want to clean the slate. Like you're moving on. Like it's a new phase. You're cleansing that
Yeah.
crystal and you're starting anew. And it will, it will hold the blueprint of all the moments it spent with you, but it will still be able to be cleansed, so that it can work optimally for you. And you'll get a clearer signal when you cleanse it, especially if you're setting those new intentions. So yeah, the cleansing is key. It's so key. And that's another place where you're infusing your intention. Your intention is to cleanse. You're helping it cleanse. Water is a great way to cleanse, because I'm sure you've seen the studies where like literally just you talking to water can change the molecule. So when you both cleanse and you state your intention to cleanse into the water and then cleanse the crystal with the water, that's when Kyle went nuts. He's like, "Oh my God, like this is
Yeah.
the energy, like it's palpable. I feel it." He was like high in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
talked to so many, I interview so many psychic mediums. And believe it or not, and I read a lot of books about the spirituality. Almost every book and every person that I've interviewed and I've talked about it, it has something to do with the water.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
Always they tell
mhm.
me there's a water involved. This Arthur that
Yeah.
before he got sick and before he had a near death experience, he took a bathtub, he went to the water, and after that, he just like almost died.
Wow.
He
I
went to
got
the other
chills.
side, yes. And then I had another woman, and she said that she went to the other side. She had a near death experience, but coming back, the angel actually, or the spirits guide, actually dip her to the water before they said, now you have to go back.
Wow.
So I'm so happy you said that the water
Water is life.
is
Yeah.
so important. It's life, and the
Yeah.
combination of your crystal and your water and
With the
cleansing and all of
water. Oh
that
my
is
gosh,
just
yes.
makes so much sense.
Oh, yeah, and then being mindful of the water you put into your body. Like, a lot
Yeah.
of us drink water that we don't know where it's coming from or, like, what kind of pollutants are in it, and we're really like, I'm very, like I'm a big water person, like, I'm really into the filter and doing whatever you can, or just getting, like, even if you can't afford a big fancy filter, just getting a small little filter, like, something because we're, like, 70% water. So much of our body
Water.
is water. Water holds that intention. It's so powerful for programming. So you're going to get a much better result for your own energy if you're conscious of the water you're putting into it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
crystal one-on-one. What are for somebody that's listening right now, what are the like couple of basic crystal that you
Yeah.
recommend that everyone should have?
Great question. Okay, so I would for sure say citrine. This is like one of the best crystals for positivity, success, abundance. Like it's a big money manifester. So anyone
Okay.
that's like trying to bring, and not just money, it's like it brings you into the flow so that you're attracting abundance, so that the notion of abundance becomes something that's so easy, limitless. I'm going to show a citrine. I have a really fancy citrine right now. This is like over thousands of dollars. So I don't want to, this is not what I
Right, right.
would
I see it.
recommend
Yeah.
for someone beginning, but you'll notice that, oh, here's another one. It has like a yellow tinge to it.
Yellowish. Yeah.
It's yellowish, and I would be mindful because there's heat treated citrine, which is more of like an orangey burnt kind of color, and then there's
Okay.
natural citrine. And I would really recommend, if you really are being serious, to get the natural citrine. Heat treated citrine is still a crystal, but it's heated amethyst that's
Okay.
heated like in a lab or in a warehouse.
Okay.
So you want to go with like a real citrine. Oh, here, I actually have some heated citrine. I always do like little videos, so I have a little bit of everything. This is what
Got it.
heat treated citrine. It's orange, right? And
Right,
it's in a
right, right.
cluster. Like real citrine will never form in a cluster like this. Only amethyst will kind of form like this. So
I was
you'll
gonna
kind of
say,
be able to tell. Yeah,
because the other one has like a kind of goldish,
it's golden.
goldish.
Exactly. It's
Yeah, it's
golden,
golden.
it's yellow, it's smoky,
Yeah,
it's natural looking. This one's like bright orange. It's totally different. You'll be
right.
able to tell. I even have some videos kind of comparing them and see like this is an amethyst. So this is like literally it's just like cooked amethyst. That's what the heat.
Yeah,
It's still a crystal though. Like it's still
right,
an
right, right.
amethyst. You're feeling that. It's an energy, but go with the natural one if you really want to get started. That brings me to amethyst. Of course, amethyst is that like gateway crystal that everyone has or that everyone knows about. And it's really important to have it because some of these crystals, like the reason I would say to get them is because not only because they deal with like very universal things that we all go through, but because their vibrations are very accessible. So if you haven't worked with crystals regularly or you don't know much about them, you'll be able to feel their frequencies a little bit more easily than you would maybe some of the others because they're more universal in their frequencies. You can feel them more readily. So I would say amethyst, if you're someone that has a lot of stress and anxiety in your life, or you have trouble sleeping, you're having nightmares, amethyst is wonderful. You can use it throughout the day to just de-stress, or you can put it by your nightside to help you improve your sleep and
Right.
nightmares. I used to
Okay.
put this in dream catchers all the time. Amethyst,
Okay.
amethyst, amethyst.
It's a very
Um,
popular one too. A lot of people know about the amethyst.
Totally. Of
Yeah.
course, another hugely popular one, rose quartz.
I heard about that.
Anyone that's healing the heart, doing a self-love journey, working through, trauma of the heart, or just wanting to love themselves a little bit more. Like just kind of you're noticing that like your self-talk isn't very positive and you kind of feeling crummy and you're a little bit you're lacking confidence in yourself, or even you're not following your heart. Like you're on a path that doesn't feel aligned. Rose quartz, it's wonderful for that.
Okay.
What's another one that I can say? But I think carnelian is another really good one if we're talking about like confidence. If you struggle with confidence,
Yeah.
that's a really good one. It will really help you kind of get your juju back. You know what I mean? Like it gets you into that like, I can do this, let's go kind of energy. I love pyrite too. Pyrite is like, I feel like if it's like your boss babe crystal. Like if
Okay.
you're a leader or if you're like trying to get a promotion at work, if you're trying to start a business, if you're trying to step into your power, pyrite, it really is like a no bullshit crystal. It helps you if you're someone that like always is like a yes woman to everyone around you and you're not putting up your boundaries or you're letting people push you around and you're not stepping into your gifts fully. Pyrite, it's amazing. It's going to help you do that and it protects you from other people manipulating your energy.
Wow.
This is
So
a
beautiful.
beautiful pyrite elephant, the
Mm-hmm.
lucky elephant with
Like
the
elephant. Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah,
yeah.
with the trunk tipped up. Black tourmaline's another really great one. That is a great protective crystal. It's not only protective of your energy and your space, but it has an electrical charge to it. So it actually can be an EMF protector. So you can put it by your electronics. And it's just good specifically for just kind of like neutralizing the space of negative energy. And
Right.
it just deflects it out. Another really good one, this is maybe the last one I'll say. There's so many, but I
All
don't want to
right.
overwhelm everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Smoky quartz. Smoky quartz is something that like I use on a regular basis to detox myself. So let's say like the negative energy has come in,
Right.
and you want to rid yourself of it and you want to just like cleanse your own body and your own frequency of any kind of energy that doesn't suit you or belong. You just kind of hold that smoky quartz and you imagine that energy leaving you and through the feet going back into the earth to be repurposed. And any lingering negative energy, it actually transmutes into positive energy. So it's like an alchemist crystal. Like you take that negative energy and you make it into something positive. So if you're in a dark place and you're wondering like, how do I turn this into something that I can use, something positive? Smoky quartz. So that's
I
like
feel
my
like
toolkit. Yeah.
I feel like that people should carry that everywhere with them
Everywhere. I know that one you
because
have to cleanse regularly though. You
well,
know what I mean?
like you talked about your job, the woman that for bringing
Oh
other
yeah.
women down. You probably
Oh.
not holding on that.
Oh my God, yeah. Like I had I feel like those were kind of like the crystals I had before I was like really into crystals. Like I had and yes, like the smoky quartz. It's such a like you need it. You need it for
Yeah.
life. Like there's
So
always
there's
gonna be those people. Yeah.
those are some of the basic ones that people
Yeah.
should have, and the way you explain it, I think is so essential. I feel
Mm.
like it's very essential. I'm considering myself, you watch me like, and now I'm going to be like all getting all of that, but it's no, it is important. That is very important, and I love that the fact that you said it's got like almost companion, that they're there with you, that you can be
Mm,
vulnerable, that you can be yourself,
exactly.
that you can talk about yourself however you
Yes.
want, and they're just take that energy and change it such a beautifully twist it around and come back to you and feel your energy. And I think
Yeah.
that itself is priceless,
Yeah.
especially in today's society that we are so bombarded with technology and
Totally.
information overload and all of
Oh,
that. So I feel like it's really important. But is it can you heal animals and babies have a crystal around them as well?
oh
Can you just
yeah.
right? Because
Absolutely.
a lot of
Like
people listening, they have a little animals that are,
yes. Oh my gosh, like Whimsy loves the crystals. Every time we have them out, she's running towards them. And I've heard so many stories like this. Animals and babies or children are very sensitive to energy, more
yeah,
so than us. We
than
have,
us.
numbed ourselves, shielded ourselves, all the things. We have so many layers in the way of feeling. So they're not like that. They're just like raw and ready to experience and learn from the world as it is. They're not shutting things out or blocking it out. So we've actually, like when we're taking more visits because we were in a different space, we'd have moms bring their kids all the time. And we had this really cool experience where this mom had brought in her, I think she was like 5 years old, and she came in the shop and her mom had told me before, she's never seen crystals before, but I have the feeling she's going to love all the little like, pink ones or the unicorn shaped ones, and she's going to like be obsessed. So she comes into the shop, and all of a sudden she makes a beeline for this crystal called howlite, which is like, not the type aesthetically, not the type of crystal you'd think like a little child, little girl, like cute little girly
Would
girl would go
take, yeah.
for. It's white with little like gray kind of like cracks through it.
Okay.
And it looks like marble almost. It's very elegant, but it's not very like girly.
Good. Yeah.
And she grabbed two of them and she went over to the rocking chair and she's just rocking there and she's like, "Mom, I need these." And we're all like looking over and we're like, "Oh my gosh." Like she just knew. She didn't know single thing about Howlite or us. We hadn't even really talked yet. And she's like, "Oh my gosh." And this is a really good crystal for social anxiety and like really extreme stress. And she was explaining, she's like, she's been having extreme social anxiety, integrating into school, integrating with other kids. And it's really a really big struggle. She's very sensitive. And it was just so clear that the howlite was helping her so much so that she's like, "Mom, I need both of these." She was calming and soothing herself with the crystal. And it was such a moment for us. And we really were so moved by it. And since then, we've had tons of kids that would come in and choose their crystals, and they would know so fast. Like, you don't even need to say a thing. And they're like, "Oh, I want this
Yeah.
one. This one's doing this for me." Like, they just know. They have that information. They have that sensitivity. And the crystals help them like so much more easily than they help us because they're so open to it. And so I have had so many moms and dads try to educate their children about coping mechanisms with their crystals so that they have little things that they can do to help themselves with issues at school or whatever is going on. Like maybe it's bullying. I had kids like had moms help bring crystals in for bullying, for lack of sleep, for just generalized anxiety, for ADD, for all of these things. And the kids are just taking to it like crazy because it's so easy for them to access, and they don't need to take drugs or have like heavy therapy or whatever. I'm not saying don't do therapy, but I'm saying it's just a
Right.
really great way to introduce your kids to these beautiful things that come from Mother Earth that can support them and give them a way to cope when things are spinning out a little bit. So absolutely with kids. There are obviously some crystals with super high vibrations that like maybe your kids will be like, "Whoa, this is too much for me." And like any of the ones I mentioned to you are great for kids. Like those are
Right.
really accessible ones. And like your kids will know too. They'll be like, "Well, that's too much." Like trust the kid. Like the kids know more than we do.
Yeah. I
They're
was gonna say,
so
yeah.
aware. They're
Yeah.
so aware. And the animals too. Like animals know when a person is bad. Animals know when
Yeah.
a person is amazing and they just flock to them. They can sense energy faster than we can. Like I have so many dogs and cats that I know of that just like love to be around crystals. They feel healed. I when our puppy was about to, not a puppy, I guess she was older, it was our family dog. And my this was the side of my family that doesn't like necessarily believe in crystals that much, but they're kind of open, but they're not where I'm at.
Right.
So Mosey was really, really sick, and the vet had said that she was gonna pass like in a day or so. And she was super, super weak. Like she couldn't even move. She was just on my sister's bed. And my mom said, like, "I don't care what it takes, bring the crystals. Like, I'll try anything." So I brought some crystals that were really good for healing. And I swear this is exactly how it happened. So we went over with Kyle and me and we placed them all around Mosey in a circle, like a healing circle. And one by one, she would like, and she had no energy. She hadn't moved all day. She would move ever so slightly, put her chin on the crystal. Then she would move over to the next one, put her chin on the crystal. And she lived for another year and a half. And we all are like, "This was a miracle." And we put our energy into those crystals. Like we were like, "Heal Mosey, heal Mosey, heal Mosey." And it was like, I'm gonna cry because I missed her so much, but it was like such a powerful moment for us, like because it was just so nice to be able to do something for her and just see her live for another year. And so when I say animals feel crystal energy, like I mean it. Like they feel it.
Yeah.
They feel it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, Mother Earth, like that's the energy miracle. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Now, my dog Ace, he's 3 years old and he
Mhm.
has separation anxiety.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So
mm,
what
mm,
crystal? Because I know a lot of. I had an animal healer in my show. A lot of animal healer that they talk about a lot of stuff. But I
mm,
always, and I know a lot of our listeners write down to us and say that because
mm.
I got a lot of question about animal. They knew that I was bringing animal healer, and the same thing with the crystal as well. They were like, okay, so what can we do with our animals that if they're not feeling good? What would you recommend for that? Separation anxiety is
Yeah,
very common.
so totally. So that's like a core safety in their own skin, like a root chakra issue. It's like, I don't feel safe. I
Yeah.
feel like something's going to happen to me if
Right.
this person leaves me. Like, I'm not grounded and rooted in
Oh my
myself that I feel like it's going to be okay. So you're going to want to just, if you don't have specific recommendations, what I would say is like, always check the chakra system. So if something has to do with a certain chakra, um, go for the color of the crystal that is the color of that chakra to
The
help it.
chakra. Okay.
Yes. So I would say for this, either red jasper can be really good for helping you
Okay.
to just like stay grounded, and smoky quartz. Smoky quartz can really help
Right.
address the safety and help you feel really safe in your own skin. It can take out any energy that isn't serving you and help you feel very calm and safe. So I would definitely recommend even the combo of those. Like it's and the
Yeah.
red jasper helps you to kind of find strength and in your solitariness. So those are two like really good beginner crystals that would be great
I
for
know when you were
separation
saying,
anxiety.
yeah, smoky cord, I think when you were explaining that, I was thinking about that. That is like, that's
Yeah,
really important for everybody to have
100% for
just because of
everybody.
the energy. Yeah. And
Totally.
I mean, animals and babies are cute because when they don't have their, favorite person around them, they're always have this anxiety. So these are
Yeah,
the two essential they should have just to give
totally.
them that thing.
That safety in their own skin. Yeah.
Yeah. So which one is, if you had to pick one, what's your favorite one?
Crystal. Okay, so this like is a really tough one because I have so
I
obviously
know it's not
Lemuria,
fair. I know
it's
it's not
so
fair, but
hard. And I will say your favorites change depending on where you are in your life. Because at different times in your life, you need different energies, you have different things going on. You're gonna like, there are crystals that I would be like, honestly, like I have no interest in, and then something happens in my life and I need it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this crystal right now. So that's something they change with the seasons of your life. And sometimes like you'll refresh your home and like put some away and take some out for a different time in your life to support. So there's that. But that said, of course, Lemurian quartz is like my number one. But after that, I would say Caribbean calcite. And Caribbean calcite is a trickier one to obtain. Like we're actually, we specialize in this crystal. It's an extremely, extremely rare crystal. The mines had closed a few years ago, so it's not producing anymore. So we really just have like old stock collector's pieces of it. I have so many of them. First of all, they're stunning. Like you've never seen something so beautiful. No, they're
wow.
gorgeous. They're absolutely stunning. These are some of my own collection. You can literally see the waves
Yeah, I see
through it.
that. It's
Yeah,
like you're holding a beach in your hand.
literally, yes. So first of all, if you just need to like aesthetically like escape to a beach and just like get out of the place that you're in, like
Yeah,
just looking at it, you're like there.
because the
So
sand, the color of the sand and the
I
the
know
top is
it's
like,
the beach. Yeah, exactly. It's literally like the most beautiful Caribbean sea with the beach, which we all need. It's just
yeah,
perfect. But for me, like first of all, aesthetically, and don't. Because some people will be like, "Oh, I'm so vain. I'm only going towards crystals that like I think are pretty," and that's totally the wrong way to look at it. Like the beauty is what invites you in. Some of us need to feel that beauty to feel that attraction. Just like when you're finding a partner, there needs to be an attraction there. You need to
right,
feel like, wow, this is beautiful. Like I'm interested in going deeper. So if you think something's beautiful, like there could be a deep spiritual reason behind that. There's a reason you're attracted to it. So first of all, I'm very attracted to Caribbean calcite, as are a lot of people. Like it's a very like it was found to heal the planet. Also, this is like one of the best crystals for people who struggle with control and like when things feel out of control, it can be really, really difficult. Like for me, because things were so chaotic growing up, because I had such a messy upbringing, I always felt like I didn't have control. And it led to me having eating disorders. Like that's how I lost the weight initially when I was young. I went anorexic. It was really unhealthy. Like I was just trying to control my environment. And so Caribbean calcite has helped me learn to surrender that need to control everything, surrender that fear of uncertainty, and trust in the destiny of my life. And it has been such a guide through all of those times where I find myself micromanaging situations and I need to let go. And it's just like it's not up to me and to let go and like just sit in that and find that surrender and find that peace that comes with that. And it's helped me a lot. It's helped me to trust in destiny and move into destiny and not resist it in a beautiful way.
It's
So
so
yeah,
pretty. So pretty.
that's a big one for me.
Uh, okay, so what are you working on right now?
Right now, we have a few things. So we actually are thinking of doing a Patreon ourselves because we have all of this content and like all of this knowledge that we want to share, but we really only have the Instagram platform right now. And things are so ephemeral there. Like you put a story out and maybe it's an amazing story, but it's gone after 24 hours. Or you put up a workshop, but maybe not everyone can find it because it gets lost
Right,
in the
right,
wall. Or you have some really key conversations or key topics that you want to talk about, but you can only fit it into 30 seconds.
right.
So there's so many things that we want to teach and we want to try to build our community out because we have definitely a need for it. Like we have PDFs that we want to make, we want to do education, we want to do like mini little courses, workshops. So we're thinking of building out a Patreon ourselves so that all of this information can live there and people can have a place to learn as much as possible about crystals. Right now we're reorganizing the shop so that people can actually come visit in person. Because right now
Right.
since we moved, we've only been existing over Instagram. But we want people in Toronto to be able to like come and meet us and feel the crystals in person. And for me, I love getting to meet my clients or do Zoom calls with them. I used to do a lot more Zoom calls, like one-on-one sessions, but we had become so busy with our live sales that
Right.
I wasn't able to do that, and we didn't necessarily have the space anymore. So that's another thing that I want to work on. And yeah, we're just kind of staying open. Like we're not
Workshop would
workshops
be
for sure.
for
We want to
sure,
do some
definitely.
collabs. We want to like
Yeah.
get out there a little bit more. Like this was part of like I've been putting out that intention and then you popped up, right? Like I wanted to reach a wider audience. I wanted to meet more like-minded people who are leaders in this field, who are inspiring others. Because I'm always looking for mentors too. Like I love being around like-minded people who are in this world who have things to share. Um,
Absolutely.
because if I want to be helping others, I need to be always working on myself as well, which is
Yeah.
so important. Like you have to feed yourself, you have to constantly do the work, especially if you're guiding others. And I'm sure you found
Absolutely.
this too, like because you're,
Absolutely. Oh my God.
yeah, oh my
Oh
gosh.
my God. I always say I love my job because it is so fascinating to me every time in my show when I interview somebody and their field of work. I kid you not, mind blown. Like, because there's so many industries, and you hear the stories, and you hear their experience, and you
Yeah.
see how everybody went through so much to come
Mm,
and make themselves successful, whatever success means to them.
right.
And I gotta say, there's so many great people out there, as much
Mm,
as we hear on the social media, but there's a lot of people that I've met, that I've interviewed, that are they literally like yourself. It's so amazing. They're doing their work because they're so passionate about it, but
mm.
actually doing it to help others. I
And
really
those are
do.
the people I resonate with too. Like that's why we met
Almost
each other. We
everybody.
both vibe there. Like,
I'm telling you, almost everybody that I've interviewed, and I've interviewed adult film stars. And I
wow.
kid you not, I did it in a content that some people got turned off. And it was like, when I first started it, they were like, nah, I don't know what this podcast is.
But you're open.
But
Yeah.
but when you hear their story, my goal was
Yeah.
to bring their story
Yep.
because everyone has a story. And
I
how
know.
they overcome their story and
Yeah.
how they find themselves and how they're
Mm,
living their true self.
mm,
That's my goal. And it
yeah.
doesn't matter what you do. And I got to say, like I said, 120% of the people that I have done, always about helping others,
I love
no
that.
matter what they do.
I love it.
And
I
that
love
is
it.
to me is so, so important. And,
And
and,
that's
and
why
that's
we're
why,
here. That's
that's why
literally
I
what
had,
we're here
yeah.
for.
And
Like, I feel
I'm
like that's
so,
the purpose of life. We're here
absolutely.
to support one another and grow.
That's a
Yeah.
whole nother energy that you feel when you do that. Oh my
Oh,
God. That's definitely. So before I let you go and not take too much of your busy time,
sure.
what
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
what does inner power means to you?
Inner power. That's such a good question. I think that inner power is that ability to trust in the whispers of your heart and be brave enough to find a way to make that happen and materialize externally. Like that to me, when I'm fully feeling my power, I'm listening and I'm not just listening and sitting. I'm listening and I'm taking that information and I'm creating. And that is one of the best feelings in the world because you're literally birthing something that is so authentic and so real and that's coming not just from you but from the divine, and you're bringing it into the world to share it with others. And whatever that is, I believe when it comes from that place, there is potency and power to what you create, and other people will feel that palpably. And that's where like joy comes from. That's where that's real power. Power to me is not controlling other people. It's not having a lot of success and money and all of these things. It's creating something authentic that has resonance, that has energy to affect and inspire and move people to action in a positive way. That's power
And
to me.
you experience that as you're running,
That
and that
totally.
whisper
That was
of
it.
inner power, the whisper of inner power, that everything that you need you have within yourself to create. And
Exactly. And ever since that moment, I have trusted myself whenever I have a feeling or a strong, like I just, even if it doesn't make sense or I don't know how it's going to play out, I trust it. And that's how I lead my team. Like they have to trust me. I'm like, okay, this may sound crazy, you guys, but this is what I'm being told. Like, let's move it. And that's
wow.
how we work. Like we work very intuitively like that. Like they literally will rely on me to download that information. And I'll tell you, the Lemurian
Yeah.
Chords last thing has helped me to receive those downloads in a really profound way. Since working with them, I've just become such a clear channel that it's second nature to me. Whereas before, like when I first got those instincts, or especially as a child, I probably wouldn't listen to them as much. They'd come, but I
Yeah.
wasn't ready to hear it. And then for some reason, that day that I was running, it came and I was like, I was ready to hear it and move on it and do something. So it's listening and then acting, listening and doing. And
That
that's the
whisper,
power.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is a power. Lindsay, thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking the
my
time to
pleasure.
educating us about this stuff. I am so fascinated about this whole thing. I always like crystal because of this beauty of it, how beautiful it is. And to me, it meant a lot because it comes from earth, it's just like the natural thing, that the
Exactly.
last thing that we can hold on to and know that that's
Yes.
what it is. But
Yes.
yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for being here, educating us, and we definitely put your
Pleasure.
information out there for people to find you. And must take these crystal and have them, because I'm telling you, it's so important.
Absolutely. If you need any crystals, I'm here.
Thank you
Thank you
so much,
so much
Lindsay.
for everything. This was a wonderful experience and it was such a joy to meet you and just truly an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into Inner Power Insights. I hope today's episode inspired you to embrace your journey of personal growth and empowerment. If you enjoyed our conversation, please rate and review us on your favorite platform, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media at Coach Valerie Malone for behind the scenes content and updates. For more exclusive content and to support the podcast, consider joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/innerpowerinsights. Your support helps us continue to bring you inspiring stories and expert advice. Remember, your inner power is limitless. Until next time, keep growing and glowing.